Well, as you have gathered, I will be talking this evening about reducing encounters between humans and large and potentially dangerous sharks. And I hope the outcomes will be better for humans, better for the sharks, and better for the environment in general. Now, as you've heard, the university is celebrating its 40th year of independence. There's another 40-year anniversary that you may not be aware of, and that is the movie Jaws that graced our screens some time ago, causing hysteria, it's fair to say, and demonising large sharks. I thought what I might do is start with a bit of audience participation and ask you all whose heart rate does not go up, when they hear this. Now I have to step off the stage away from the lights to see the show of hands. We've got a couple of people that are not concerned. They're either too young to have seen the movie, or they don't go near the water, I've decided. All right, so the media is particularly good at drawing to our attention the fact that there are often large, dangerous sharks lurking near or just off our coast. We see these sort of headlines quite frequently. And I guess this whole issue has been brought into sharp focus by recent occurrences on the north coast, near Ballina, but also the McFanning encounter in Jeffreys Bay in South Africa. So where do we stand? What's the response? What's the government response to these issues? Well, in New South Wales, we've had a shark meshing program, or euphemistically called a bather protection program, which has run for many years. It takes in about 50 beaches between Newcastle and Wollongong. These nets do not enclose beaches. They are 150 metres long. Many of the sharks that are captured in these nets are actually exiting the beach, some 40% of them. The express aim of this program is to kill large and potentially dangerous sharks. In fact, it's highly effective at that. In the last 50 years, we've seen the destruction of some 11,000 sharks. And you might say, well, is that really important? Does that really matter? And I'm going to argue that for three reasons, it is important. The first reason is that many of the sharks that are being captured are considered threatened. The great white shark on your left is considered threatened in New South Wales, while the grey nurse on your right is quite literally on the brink of extinction. The second reason is that healthy oceans require apex predators. They require large sharks. Imagine to be healthy. Imagine the Serengeti without lions. It's the same sort of thing. The third reason, and the one I'm really concerned about, is the bycatch associated with these nets. They are remarkably destructive, entangling and often killing a range of innocent creatures that are harmless to humans. These include whales, dolphins, turtles, and many species of quite literally harmless shark. Now, times have moved on. Nets are old technology. There have been technological advances in us observing sharks underwater, but also tagging them and looking at their movements. The details here are not particularly important. What I want you to get from this slide, this is satellite tagging of 4 female sharks for 3 months off Baja, California. And the different symbols are the different individual sharks. The point is that we now know much more than we did 10 years ago about shark movements and shark behaviour. And so I want to introduce to you my big idea, and that is it's time that we invest in assessing alternate technologies to better understand sharks, to better understand their movements, and then we need to remove these incredibly destructive shark nets. You might say, okay, well, what are these alternate technologies? What's out there? Well, there are a range of things, and I want to touch on them briefly. The first set, and I've listed those as observations, are an opportunity to understand where sharks are and when they're there. it's currently suggested that the aerial patrols that we see frequently flying on our beaches can actually only see about 20% of the sharks that are there. Recently, there's been the development of hyperspectral scanners. These operate outside the normal wavelengths that you and I see. And using that technology, that figure of 20% is raised to 80%. You can imagine if we can marry that technology to drones, we may have a very cost-effective way of assessing the whereabouts of sharks near our beaches. The other thing I should mention is that apparently underwater sonar has also recently been tested near Bondi, also showing potential. So that's where the sharks are, but if they're in an area, how then do we move them away, move them on from bathers? Well, there are a couple of recent techniques or technologies that we see now. The first is chemical deterrents. They've been worked on for many years, but these particular ones look to be highly effective. They're called necromones, as the name suggests. They use extracts from dead sharks, and they seem to be highly species-specific and highly effective. So watch this space. I should also touch on barriers. There have been recent developments, particularly in South Africa, looking at artificial kelp as a barrier, kelp curtains, I should say, and also bubble curtains in Western Australia have been explored as well. So both of those show potential, and I want to emphasise that often the answer here may be the marrying or the bringing together of several different technologies. I want to just do a very brief show and tell, and it's quite convenient that I'm mic'd up like this, because this brings me to these last two barriers that are magnetic and electrical. These overstimulate sensory organs, electromagnetic sensors, on the heads of sharks called the ampullae of Lorenzini. Now, these are commercially available now. They're a battery pack with a long antenna. The idea is you strap this to your leg as a diver or a surfer. It puts out an electromagnetic pulse that apparently deters sharks. Now, I must admit I was a little bit sceptical about this, but what I'm going to show you now is two videos that were shot in South Africa. They include these electrical deterrent devices being towed behind a boat with a seal decoy just at the surface. In this first video, you will see a white shark attacking the decoy, in fact going completely out of the water. That's with the device turned off. And this is typical behaviour for a shark. They are ambush predators. They swim rapidly, take a bite out of their prey, leave it to be subdued by blood loss, and then come back and have a feed without the risk of being harmed or damaged in any way. That's with this deterrent device turned off. Now let's take a look at the same thing with the device turned on. Here's the shark coming up. You can see the decoy clearly. At the last second, the shark just pulls away. Frankly, I was shocked. I thought a hunting shark coming up quickly at its prey like that would in no way respond to external stimuli. But clearly I'm wrong, and it's great news, I think. So after all that, all those teeth, I think it's probably good to end on a light note. And so I just suggest that perhaps we should think about commercial fishing then versus commercial fishing now. Thank you very much.